Okay, good morning. So we're up to Shin Yud Gimel Seif Hey. Working through the halachas of Boina and Stiras with Kalim. So says the Mechaba in Seif Hey, Shida Tevo Migdal, a carriage, a box, and a cupboard, Shepischehen min atzad. The openings are from the sides, not from the top. V'yesh laim shnei tzirim. They've got two hinges. Echad l'mayla ve'echad l'mata. One hinge is at the top and one hinge is at the bottom. Im yotza tachtein kulay mimkoimai. If the bottom one has come out fully, also lachzirei, you can't replace it. Shema yiska, because if you replace it, we're worried you might come to fix it in firmly. Avalim yotza miksasav, if only partially comes out, deichka, you can sort of slot it back in until you put it back into its place. Because you've got the top hinge which is already in place, and therefore it's easier to slot the bottom hinge back into place. But if the top hinge also came out, then you've got a problem. Then it's asa. Okay, says Mishabur. Let's see. You've got a little cavity in the threshold, where the hinge slots into it. And above it, you've also got a chur. And the top tzir, the top hinge is in this hole. The concern is that if it, you might come to fix it in firmly. You say this with bolts and pegs, that it's firmly put in there, and then you've got a problem of having makkah patish. It's a problem of finishing off a this item of sheda teva migdal, whatever it is. And even when the chur is in the middle of the height of it, we're less concerned of shema yiska. We make a gezerah of the middle off to the tzad where you've got the top one and the bottom one. Even with our hinges, they're made out of metal. Also, you can't put back the doors of the kalim to gazrin and shema yiresh atzir ena tokua yafe. We're worried that you'll notice that the tzir, the hinge, is not fixed in firmly. And you'll nail it in. But if the top one came out, even just putting it back in is a problem, because you're going to do it firmly, because you haven't got that connection at the top and it's fully out now, and therefore putting it back in is going to be problematic. Okay, so that's hey. So again, what have we said? You've got a sheva teva migdal. You've got the hinges on the side. You've got a top hinge and a bottom hinge. If the bottom hinge came out, you're allowed to loosely put it back in. But if the top hinge also came out, then we're worried you're going to put it shema yiska. You're going to fix it firmly, and you're not allowed to reinsert it. Okay, vov mitzah shel prokim. So this is a bed made out of parts. Also lachziro lahadoka. You can't reassemble it on Shabbos or lahadoka and sort of firmly tighten it together. V'im toka chayiv chatzas, and if you did, it could already be a chayiv chatzas. That could be a deraisa. V'im he darkly yesrefuya. If its way is to do it just very sort of gently and very loosely, mutar lechatchila u'bavad shlei hadeg. Reassembling a bed which is only meant to be done in a loose fashion, that would be okay, so long as you don't do it very firmly. Okay, let's just do the Mishnah Brutal there. Shel prokim, hainu, sha'asuya prokim. That is made, this bed is made out of pieces. Bishvil bale umnus sheyuchlu losei sitzon baderech. It's like a temporary portable bed. You've got various pieces, and the guy, the businessman, when he gets to his destination, he's going to go to sleep at night. He'll reassemble it and he'll make his bed literally. You make the bed. So that is a problem. So with a proper sort of, like an IKEA bed that you're going to reassemble each time, that would be a problem. Also, Gezer Shem Yiska B'Yiseidus Masmarim, because we're worried you're going to do it properly with nails. So either you got a problem of makbeh patish, you got a problem of boina if you reassemble this portable bed in a permanent fashion. Okay. However, if it's made to be done in a loose fashion, then we're not worried about it. Also, that would be okay. Now, if I'm just going to show you from the Shabbos Home, which is Rav Simcha Bunim Cohen's sefer, he talks about folding beds and tables. Now, this is a very motzu shaila. You've got a Z bed, a folding bed, or a folding table. That is not a problem. Utensils that fold may be opened and closed on Shabbos. Therefore, one is permitted to set up a folding bed or a table on Shabbos. That's not a problem. However, one may not tighten the screws or bolts or hold on to them in the proper position. Okay, but opening a folding table or something like that, so long as you haven't got any screws or anything like that, then it would be okay. Now, also, he's going to talk about in a minute, what about lowering or raising a Shtender? As you can picture the ones I mean. Not these ones are fixed, but you've got some where you can they're adjustable. So he says a Shtender that is made to be used at different heights by unscrewing it, raising it to the desired height, and then tightening the screw, may be raised and lowered on Shabbos. It's okay. Since that is the normal way to use the Shtender, it is not an act of building. So that's also important to know.
So as soon as you have to add the parts or take over, but even if it's without screws,
right?
You're not allowed.
Yeah, once you're involving screws in there, but even the Shtender.
No, even without screws. Let's say a flap in the table. You want to add another.
Yeah, so we'll get to that in Shinya Dalet more. That's going to be a problem of Voihel. Possibly. So we'll have to get to each one. It depends what the situation is. But lowering and raising a Shtender, even if it's sort of turning the screw, that bolt thing, that would be okay, because that's how you do it. That's its normal function. Okay, let's go back to the Ramah. The Koish Shel Parokim. So till now we were talking about a bed, a Mitzvah Shel Parokim. So we said that you can't, that could be a Chiyuv Chatzos if you're reassembling it in a permanent fashion, either Boine or Makam Patish. But if it's darker lias refuah, it's sort of it's meant to be done in a loose fashion. That we mutar lechatchila, and our folding tables and chairs, no problem. Okay, carrying on. For koishel prokim, a kais which is made of pieces, mutar lefarkav lachzir b'Shabbos. You're allowed to undo it and to put it back together on Shabbos. V'yesh mi she'omer she'dina kais kedina mitzvah, and some are stricter with the kais, and they say it's got the same din as the mitzvah. V'im darker lios muhuduk, and if therefore this kais where you have to screw the base to the actual cup is going to be muhuduk, it's going to be very tight. Afagav the akshav rafui also, because again it's the shaila of makbeh patish or perhaps boina. Okay, says the Mishnah Bura, Sif Cotton Mem Dalet. For Koshel Prokim, Sheyesh Kais, Shemefarkin Osemi Al Ragloi. You sort of put the cup part on top of the base. The Farko Rachzir, Kashul Rafu, Vatam, the Ein Derech Lahade Kolkach, Bechezek, Shechoshev Kamoy Betkia. Because we're not, you're not doing it, the Yesh Matirim, you're just putting the top on the base, and we don't have to do it so tight, it's not considered proper boine or makro patish. Valkein ein loch Hashem yiska. Vayesh misha omes virelei, the kiven dal kol polim derech lahadek. At the end of the day, you don't want to spill your drink, and therefore you want to do it very tightly. Gambu rafui also, even if you do it loosely, it's still going to be also. Kamoi b'mitzvah shel parakim. Because the gezerah is Shem Yiska, you might come to do it very tight. Kosev and Mogen Avram. The kosev shelanu ha'asuim b'charitzim soviv k'mo elu sheyesh sruf somach l'raglom. They've got some sort of ridges where you sort of screw it, you sort of twist it in. U'mudokim b'chayzek. Then l'kulam ma'asa v'kisu b'hakelim. That would be also because you're doing it in a very tight fashion. V'kisu hakelim, and coverings of kalim, afilim asuyim kach, even if they're made for that, shari, that's no problem. Putting the cover of a keli back on is okay. The hosam ein asuyim lekiyum, rak l'posim l'sagron, tomid, because it's derech, like the folding bed, I guess, is to put on, to take off, and that's just the normal operating way of using that keli. V'chein kosav ataz. V'afilu hakelim she'osu lefarkan lachziron, even kalim, where it's also to open them up and then to reassemble them. Mikol makom letaltel and shari, they won't become muksa. For the gozra ele b'menorah shedarka lisparg, they only made a gezerah with a candelabra where its derech is to sort of open it up. Kamesh kosav sif reish ayin tes. V'kol kiyotze bo. Aval b'dover she'ein darker l'hisparik shor b'tiltel. But anything which is darker l'hisparik, then it won't become muktzah. Okay, that's so far. The mitzvah shel prokim, we said if it's going to be very tight, it could be a chiyuv chatos. If it's refuya, then it's mutar lechatchila. Then we said the kais shel prokim is mutar, and then yesh mi she'omer that the din of the kais has got the same din as the mitzvah. So v'yesh mi she'omer memvov v'lechatchila yesh lahachmir kadei azu. You should be machmir with this, this cup which can be reassembled. Achim hu l'tzerech Shabbos. But if it's going to be, you need it for Shabbos to make Kiddush or something like that, yesh lismech adeh rishayna, that it would be okay. Shedin hakais vu adin hashtender, which we spoke about. Shebeis hakneses shemelochem olos farim imu shel prokim. So too, but the one we have nowadays generally are, you just screw it, and that's its function to raise it or to lower it. Lios mehuduk rotzolema lios mehuduk v'tokua b'chayzek shebezeh afatur duhu deh rishayna meideh de'osa. Okay, now interestingly, in the footnotes, he talks about eyeglasses, which also comes under this issue, because sometimes there are two issues: either the side comes off or the lens comes out. So what can you do about that on Shabbos? Because it's the same concern. You might come to do it in a very sort of tight fashion. So again, I'm reading from Rabbi Simcha ben Cohen, and the Shabbos Home, it's volume 2, page 523, says the following. Reinserting eyeglass lenses. So he makes a difference between plastic frames and metal frames. So generally a plastic frame holds the lenses in place without screws. If the lens popped out and the frame is pliable, allowing the lens to be reinserted without difficulty, one is permitted to replace it in the frame. So you've got a plastic frame and it's quite soft, it's pliable, that you can put the frame back, the lens back in, then you're allowed to do it. If, however, the frame is firm and the replacement is difficult, then it's forbidden. In this case, the frame and the lens would be muktzah. Okay, now with metal frames, they're generally held together by a screw, and if the screw comes loose and the lens fall out, then it's forbidden to replace it. That's proper makbeh patish. Furthermore, the lens and the frames are muktzah, due to the concern that one might come to make the forbidden repair on Shabbos. It's a gezerah, the Shema Yizkar, that you might come to do this repair. If the screw is lost and none are readily available, and there is therefore no concern that one will repair the glasses on Shabbos, in this case they're not muktzah, provided they're somewhat functional in their current state. So that's the difference between plastic and metal frames. Okay, probably a good place to stop. Say that.